Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous. That's a 2025 Chevy Trax in Marina Blue, and this video is just kind of a bonus video. I just finished doing the full review of this, and now this is going to be more of an extended driving impressions video of the Chevy Trax in general. This is the second year of the second generation of it, and more specifically the Active. Just because these are really cool vehicles, I just want to give you guys a quick walk around to really get to experience how awesome Marina Blue is. Chevy did a really good job designing these. They are front-wheel drive. They are technically a crossover. They're basically the better version of, say, like the Chevy Cruze from 10 years ago. It looks aggressive. It starts at about $20,000. This one is a loaded out Active, which is basically the highest trim level, tying the 2RS. So it is more like $27,000. Hopefully you guys can get a really good discount from the Twin Falls Chevy. They also ship all over the country, but it has bright LED headlights. It has nice daytime running lights. They don't actually flash in person. That's just on my camera with the frames per second. And overall, it's just a really cool, really aggressive looking little vehicle. It has a lot of functional storage in the back. It has adult-sized back seats. You're gonna see all of that over the next 30 seconds, and then we'll take it on the road. We'll do some accelerations. We'll see how it drives. Do have a little bit of a privacy shade. And let's show you what's under here. Hiding away, you actually have a temporary 125 width spare tire. It has pretty good insulation, but you can see no extra carpet or nothing else to, kind of keep the costs down. The back seats also pretty good. If you guys really want to know a lot more of the specs, features, stats, all that stuff, check out my full review of this, which probably came out a little while ago. But let's hop inside and take it for a drive. These are really cool. This is now the third 2025 Chevy Trax that I have reviewed for this year. Right now, we're still over 4 months away from 2025. So let's do a few things. First, we're gonna put it into reverse, show you guys what the backup camera looks like. Really good clarity. The trajectory lines do move. Now we're gonna go down to drive. I already have stability and traction control turned off. And let's see how it does launching out of some gravel. No wheel spin. I'm sure if we had a longer running start and the turbo could spool more, it would make enough power to break the tires loose, because this can sometimes chirp that I'm doing a brake rev launch. But first gear on this is actually really punchy. It does a really good job. Let's take this corner. We can't fly around it. There's a stop sign. But the brakes work good. They're linear. Ooh, there's some gravel under there. I don't know if you guys could hear that with the sound cancellation feature on the mic, but you could hear that. And now let's see how this does getting up to speed on the highway. Actually feels really good. Not too bad. So we're gonna coast at 60. We're gonna see what the RPM look like. We're gonna see how the quality of this is. So now I'm going about 60. Let's see if we can turn on cruise control. Interesting. So I push the cruise button and that pops up. I go down and it's not setting. Do you push it in? We'll mess with that later. But going around 60 miles an hour. Right now it's about 2,500 RPM. Let me roll the windows down, because sometimes a little bit less expensive cars don't have as good of design. Heck, even the Supra has a lot of wind buffeting on the modern Supra when you roll down the windows. So let me show you what that sounds like. On camera, you guys aren't gonna hear it as bad as in person, but with one window, it's worse with one window than with two. I'd say this is probably average. You could still have a conversation if you had to have your windows down at 60, but it wasn't super pleasant, so hopefully that was insightful for you guys. The side mirrors do a really good job. They do look sporty from the outside, especially with the black accents on them. The caps, you do have blind spot monitoring and Chevy Safety Sense. The rear view mirror does a really good job too, because this is only about 15 feet long, so you can see right down the center. And overall, it's just a nice place to be. When you spend $27K for the Active, you get a giant screen. You get another giant screen. You get a few plugins. You can have a wireless charger, a 12 volt, all of your basic necessities, a couple cup holders, a nice storage bin, and then kind of that compact sedan sized little center console right there. You do have a sunroof up top and these kind of like StarTex or like synthetic water repellent type of seats. They even have Active embossed into the headrests, which are pretty cool. My backpack's enjoying them, but there's not a lot of bolstering on the seat. So if I take a corner very fast, I'm gonna feel it. But let's see what happens if I do take it kind of fast. Yeah, so that did okay in the upper 20 mile per hour range. I'm sure no one but the driver would have enjoyed that though, because I knew what to expect. I could have the steering wheel to hold on to. but I think a lot of other people probably would have been sliding around, especially in the back where you sometimes get over torqued if you're in the back of the vehicle. Think of like a bus where the back seats got a lot more trauma than the front of the bus. But overall, this is seriously just such a cool vehicle. I love that you can see the blue on the hood. Marina Blue is probably in my top 2 or 3 Chevy colors right now that they're putting out. You have good visibility on the front. The back half of the vehicle, it just feels like a little sedan. There's not great visibility. Let me slow down just slightly and we'll kind of do a steering wheel test and just casually throw it, like if you're trying to avoid a moose or something on the road. It engages pretty quickly. There's a little bit of body roll. Basically nothing about this driving experience is anything that is worse than I was expecting. Everything is so far blowing me away or impressing me. The AC, even on, it's only now about 71 degrees. So on today's test day, it blows really cold, even with just it on the low setting right now. I don't know if the system compensates really well when you're at 100, 120 degrees. If you're in like the heat of summer, Death Valley, obviously this being a front wheel drive Focus little crossover does not belong there. But overall, it just drives really well. I like it a lot. Surprisingly more and more every time I get to drive and review one of these. I just think it's really cool that Chevy's putting these out. A few of you guys in the comments have mentioned that maybe the wet timing chain isn't as reliable long term. Maybe some of the suspension components are a little bit concerning, where they're not as heavy duty as other vehicles, but also this is kind of a light duty little vehicle. It has a payload capacity that is surprisingly more than a Toyota 4Runner at about 943 pounds. So it actually, the suspension might be a little bit better than we suspect, but overall, time will tell how well these hold up. Let me show you what this does, a half circle right here. Very nimble, easy to drive. Overall, it's a pretty quiet vehicle, but when you get up to speed 6 miles an hour or higher, that's where you notice that this doesn't have as much insulation as higher end vehicles. The speakers do sound good enough, but even when I turned up the bass all the way, it didn't really add any more depth to what I was experiencing in here. So I wouldn't even mess with those, honestly, and distort it. The speakers are okay on this vehicle for $27,000. The heated seats, they're really warm, but they're not hot. They don't burn me. And now that I've had them on for probably about a half an hour, I actually feel like I'm either getting used to it or they're just kind of fading down. Sometimes Subaru seats specifically will fade down, whereas Mazda seats only seem to get hotter and burn you as your tolerance gets lower and lower. The heated steering wheel, though, it feels about as warm as it did after it completely warmed up in the first few minutes. And that's a nice feature. So although the seats don't hold me in place very well, I'm having a lot of fun driving this. I'm enjoying a lot of the characteristics and aspects that this has. And let me get to the private road, show you what this does 0 to 60. 0 to 60 in the Chevy Trax. Traction control is off. Density altitude puts us at a mile above sea level. So this turbocharged engine is down on power, probably about 10%. Do a little bit of a brake rev. Let's see what it can do. A little bit of wheel spin. First gear was pretty quick at shifting, and then second gear definitely felt a little bit slower. But true 0 to 60 today came in at 9.83 seconds. So it's not fast by any stretch of the imagination. Keep in mind, I am a mile above sea level today, density altitude equivalent. But if I, who weigh probably 190 pounds, had another 745 pounds or whatever worth of payload capacity in this, I think you're going to be struggling. I think you're going to have a difficult time, especially if you're going uphill, especially if you're trying to tow like a light duty U-Haul trailer or anything like that. I think you just need to be careful that you don't overstress this out. Around town and at slower speeds, this handles surprisingly good. It's actually fun to drive. It's going to be stressed out and work harder at higher speeds. So if you do a lot of interstate and it's unloaded, I think you're going to be fine. But if you do a lot of interstate going up and down mountain passes, I don't know how this will do long-term reliability. But around town where this is just a cruiser, I think it's a fantastic vehicle. And if you guys got anything out of this video today, if you like anything you saw, heard, learned, witnessed, whatever, please consider liking this video. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can always check out the full review of this or a full review of the 1RS or the 2RS that I've already done. And with that said, I wish you guys the best. Hope you take care. See ya.